Okay, Simin Tzadi Dalid Sif Chaf. So we finish off Eruvi Chatzeres tonight, and then we jump to Eruvi Tchumen. So both of which is pretty much not negaya to most people. Okay, so Chaf Sachar is a Reshus Stam. So again, we're talking about you have to rent when you have a guy in your property. When you have a guy in your property, so then you're not allowed to have him in the Eruv. You have to rent the Reshus from him. The Sachar is a Reshus Stam. If you rented the Reshus Stam from him, it helps for as long as the guy didn't rescind his rental to you, and as long as the guy lives there. But if the akum left, and somebody else took his place, then he has to rent from anew from the second guy. And if he rented it for a short time, and within that time the guy sublet it, then it's enough with the first rental. But if he died, or he sold it to others during that time, then you have to go re-rent it from the inheritor, or from the purchaser. And if he rented it from the servant, from the Eved, so if he rented it stam loy mahani ella calls mancha masharis as a husham, only helps as long as the masharis is there. And if he rents it temporarily, afilun istalaka masharis, then even if the worker leaves, mahani aschirus arazman, then the schirus still helps until whatever time they say to do it. We mean whatever time the contract had. Anytime the schirus is batal, tzrichen lachs of lisvar, and you go back and rent it, tzrichen gamkin lasis eruv michadash. You need to do an eruv michadash. The ain eruv chayzer an eruv, because an eruv doesn't rejuvenate. I think that would be the way to teach it. Meaning once the eruv, if the guy takes back his rental, now your whole eruv is puzzle. So then when you re-rent it from the guy, you got to make a new eruv. Okay, in Farakaway here, the way we do it is we rent it from the police department. Farakaway in 5 towns, we rent it from the 101 precinct and the 4th precinct, and we rent the streets from them for a contract of 99 years. That's how, as far as the last time, unless they redid it, but as far as I know, that's the way we do it in this community, because you're not going to go to each individual guy. So the Ramah says you can go to the people that theoretically are in charge of the streets, and Mamela, since they can close the streets, so therefore they have power. However, some say that doesn't work in a democracy, because nobody has the power to close the streets. Even if the police come and close the street for even a day or two, you take them to court, and court will say they have no right. So it's a little complicated nowadays, which is another of the reasons why people don't use city Erevin. Okay, Chaf Aleph. I'm sorry, Chaf Beis. Let's say you can't rent the reshus from the guy. So now what do? So you ask one of the Yidden should ask the guy to lend him a place in his property. To put an object over there, meaning you're asking the guy for permission to leave something in his property, let's say in his garage or something. You leave the item there, and that's how the Yisrael is kind of the place. And even if he takes the object from there before Shabbos, since the Yisrael had reshus to leave the chevetz there also on Shabbos, it's as if he had a chelik in the dira, and this Yisrael is able to rent the reshus to all the bnei achatzer. Right, so therefore, okay, I never heard of anybody doing this, but Again, one Yisrael goes, rents a spot, either rents a spot or borrows a spot in the guy's house, and once he could do it there, now that Yisrael can go give his spot to everybody in the chutzner. Fine. Chav Gimel Yisrael Mumar, somebody who's not religious, Aishu Machal Shabbos b'Hesed, or he's Machal Shabbos b'Hesed, then it's in public. All right? But Hesed means he'll do it in front of 10 people. I think we say 10 people. Yeah. So then Yesham Afilu Rak V'Istad, and some say even if he just does Istad Rabbanan, Hareo Ka'akam, he's like a guy who's taking Lischar Mimenu Rishus, and he needs to rent from them the Rishus. Chavta Bahari Kehilas Misakin Kolam Avois for Chavis Be'erevin. And many Kehilas, the Misakin, all the streets with Erevin. That's what we're referring to. That's our community, right? You make a city Erev. And they rent the Rishus from the Goylaman Yuchlu Talta B'Chala Ir, so that they can carry in the whole city. Last is Kala Tikunami, the Rav Mumcha Ubaki. You need to do it with a Rav, Mumcha, and a Baki in how to do these things. All right. And in these places, the minig is to leave an eruve chatzeres in the Beis HaKnesses, mishum deyeshle din shutuf, because it has a din of partnership, and it doesn't have to only necessarily be kept in somebody's house. But if it's in a place where the city does not have an eruv in the streets, meaning just all the private properties have their own private eruvin, and then even then, when they make an eruv chatzeres for those that live in the same chutzner as the shul, like, meaning the shul was in the same yard with other houses. So if they made an eruv together with the shul, then you're not allowed to leave the eruv in the shul. You have to leave it in somebody's house. Fine. I'm not sure why that is. But it's not really so negaya now, because usually when we make a Ruva Chatzeros, you're allowed to put it into a shul, because it doesn't fit into these parameters. Chaf of Ir, a city, that's that you fixed it with Eruv, meaning and you had an Eruv, and then the Eruv broke on Shabbos, right? So all the yards that had their own eruv, and there's no broken pirza, right? Even if the chutzner has many houses, so you're allowed to carry the entire Shabbos. Even though the eruv chatzeres is in somebody else's rishos, that it's split from this. So it's very interesting, yeah? Meaning, it's saying that you have a city eruv and it broke on Shabbos, right? Now, it doesn't mean you can carry in the eruv, because since it was mutter before Shabbos, so then it's mutter even on Shabbos. That's not what it's talking about. It's saying that even though the eruv chatzeres, meaning even though you can't carry in the streets anymore, you're still allowed to rely on that eruv chatzeres. You're allowed to rely on that box of matzah to be able to carry in your own yards. Right? That's all it means. Not that you can carry in that eruv, continue to carry in the actual eruv. Where there's no sticks and strings put up properly, then it's not. Then you obviously can't carry there. It's an interesting shaila. If somebody's walking in the street and they're out of the eruv because they don't know where the eruv is, or the eruv fell down and they don't know about it. So it's a whole machlokes a poskim. Do you tell them about it? Do you not tell them about it? Seems like what most poskim say is wait for them to get into a rishus hayachid, and then you tell them that the eruv is down. Or you call them inside and say you need their help, and then when they get inside, you tell them, okay, you can't leave. And that's but you don't tell them while they're walking in the street. Since there is a big chashash that people shouldn't be nichshel because they're just always used to carrying, al kain, So then what you should do is you should fix the Eruv with the guy. And if the strings broke, and it's possible for the guy to fix it with just making a bow, which is not a deraisa, with one knot. That would be better. That does come up once in a while, that we have to get a guy on Shabbos to fix the Eruv. Fine. Let's say Yom Tov falls on Erev Shabbos and the Eruv gets broken. Even though there is a need for an Eruv. Most people are not aware of this, but on Yom Tov, you're only allowed to carry what's necessary. You can't carry what's not necessary, to the extent that some poskim discuss, like if you need medication and you need to carry it on Yom Tov, should you carry the whole bottle of medication, or could you only take the minimum amount? Let's say you're going to need 4 Advil by shul. So can you take the whole bottle? Some say you can't do it because you're carrying extra things on Yom Tov. But if you have an Eruv, then you can carry whatever you want on Yom Tov. So it's a little riddle. We have Yom Tov coming up. You can ask your family why would we need an Eruv on Yom Tov? So it happens to be we don't check the Eruv for Yom Tov here in Far Rockaway, Lawrence. We don't check the Eruv for Yom Tov, even though there would be a reason to have it. But anyway, so let's say the Eruv goes down on Yom Tov. So then there we don't say Lo Yom Rin Hoil V'Hutu Yom Tov Hutu Gam L'Shabbos. So let's say the Eruv goes down on this Shabbos, right? And now we're going to say that you need once you put up the Eruv, so maybe you need a new Eruv Chatzeres. So we're not going to say that. But since it's mutter on Yom Tov, it's also mutter for, since it was mutter for Shabbos, maybe it should be mutter. Well, I'm sorry, this week it's the opposite of what the Kitzur is talking about, where it was, it was Yom Tov and then Shabbos. I'm mixing it up because this week it's Shabbos and then Yom Tov. But whatever it is, we don't say that since it was mutter on Yom Tov, so then it's also mutter on Shabbos. Mishum de Yom Tov and Shabbos, shtei kedushas, and they're 2 different kedushas. So therefore, we're not going to say since it was mutter on one, so it was mutter on the other. Okay. Simin Tzadiyeh Nuinian. Dine Ruvi Tchumen. Uba Yud Ches Seifim. Aleph. Also lots is b'Shabbos b'Yom Tov b'Makom Sheshavas. Yosim b'Tchum Shu Beis Alafim Amma. You are not allowed to go more than 2,000 amas away from the city. U'Makom Yeshalodam Hu Dalet Amas. And the person, wherever you are, is considered Dalet Amas. Fa'inu Haya Ben Hashmashas B'Sadeh means if you were out in the fields, Ben Hashmashas, meaning when Shabbos started, then you get 2,000 amas from there. But if you were living in a city, the entire city is your place. So Lamashal, you're here in New York City or 5 towns, whatever it is, your Eruv to go out of your Tchum would not start until you're out of the city. So it could be miles and miles and miles, which it is. And the pregnant part of the city, that's literal translation, is considered part of the city. That which it means is that every city, he's going to say, let's finish it. What is Ibura? That's 70 and 2/3 of an amma. So basically, you get a buffer zone after the edge of the city. You get 70 and 2/3 of amma, and from there 2,000. And that's considered part of the city, even if there's no buildings there. That's called the karfif of the city. And from where that 70 amas finishes, that's where your 2,000 amas falls. And so that's how you measure tchum. But we'll see more about it tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. Okay, everybody should have a fine night and a good Chodesh and a good year.